Hi, and thanks for interviewing me for your LLN Specialist Task 4. My name's Dan Hill. I'm the Director of SpecTraining, RTO number 31971, and we deliver the TAESS00009 Address Foundation Skills in Vocational Practice. The characteristics of our standard trainees are that they are looking for employment or currently working in areas of education where they are providing foundation skills to a range of learners. That can be at pre-level 1 all the way through to level 3. The purpose of our particular training skill set is to provide those learners with the skills to not only get familiar with the ACSF and the Core Skills for Work frameworks, but apply them in the way they plan and deliver their training with regards to the foundation skills. The program runs for 2 face-to-face days, usually starting at 8:30 a.m. through till 4 p.m. The first day is mainly focused on the content, and the second day is on delivery of those skills in a workshop where other participants get to be both the learners and the assessors and provide feedback for those people delivering their LLN skills. The workshops are run approximately once a month, maybe once every 6 weeks. And the average size of the group is between 6 and 12. Any larger than 12, it can be a little difficult to run some of the activities. So what we've found is that's kind of the threshold for the maximum amount that we want to attend those particular programs. As far as the learning resources goes, we create a lot of our own resources, but in this particular case, the LLN skill set resource that we use was developed by a lady by the name of Sandy Welton. We then got that and contextualized it for our organization and the way we deliver it. In doing so, we've changed the assessment a little bit, we've changed the way the workshop runs, and also we've created our own PowerPoint to support that. So the facilitators themselves have a bit of leeway with regards to the way it's run through any session to work off the input and knowledge levels of the participants. It can be slowed down, sped up, maybe more group work will happen, maybe less, and so on. We also encourage our trainers to source other materials from organisations like ALA and ASA and so forth. We have created quite a repository of those resources now, so any new trainer coming along will have access to all of those as well. When we took delivery of the LLN training materials from Sandy Welton, the process or the strategy, if you like, that we used to ensure that it met the needs of our learners started in a couple of ways. Firstly, we looked at the way we were delivering it, so the delivery mode, and we looked at what did and didn't work in that case. We also wanted to create a look and feel that matched what SpecTraining's other resources look like, and of course, in doing so, the validation of that particular courseware was undertaken. So there's a pre-validation, and there's also been a lot of moderation along the way with other facilitators to ensure that LLN content isn't too difficult, the content itself is applicable, and where there is potentially a bit of repetition, we try to reduce that so that it makes it flow a lot more simply for the participants. As far as motivating our learners goes, there's a few ways that we do that. Firstly, when we're doing any face-to-face or Zoom face-to-face sessions, we include a lot of group work. Now that group work can be in pairs or in small teams of say 3, no more than maybe 4. And in doing so, what we have found is that the engagement actually lifts quite significantly. Because if you can think of yourself in a similar position, when you're with just one other participant and you're working on a skill, then you're far more engaged than sitting back in a larger group and being lectured to or having the skills maybe questioned by other participants. So in this case, we've found that's a really great way to move forward and have a really interactive and enjoyable training session. The other way we motivate our attendees is we try to contextualize the questioning and the group work towards the workplaces that these participants come from. So if it's an employment background or maybe working with disadvantaged people trying to get their LLN skills up, then we try to capture examples and maybe we use scenarios off the cuff generally based on those types of workplaces. In addition to what I've already said, the trainer also has their own ways of engaging and motivating the participants. So it could be in direct discussion, questioning, using examples, telling stories and so forth. We've found that telling stories or using examples from their own lives where LLN barriers were overcome or where other trainees went through similar struggles as our trainees helps alleviate a lot of the stress or anxiety around learning something new. When it comes to developing reading and writing skills in this particular course, what we do is we have two strategies. Firstly, during the workshop, we have many chances for people to submit information, whether it's in a chat function or maybe it's a part of an assessment and they can read it out. We can share screens and things like that. And what that allows us to do is provide immediate feedback just to help people with things like comprehension, especially when it comes down to the questions, and also how they might frame or create their answers in a way that meets the level 3 or level 4 core skills levels for this particular skill set. The second way we do it is through the assessment process, so the more formal assessment process where participants have 3 opportunities to submit their assessment. If after the first opportunity we can see that there's maybe some issues with grammar or comprehension or some other writing skill, then we have the opportunity to go back to that participant, provide some corrective advice or information and feedback, and that participant can then go back, try again and resubmit. And even on the third attempt, they have that ability to grow from potentially that first submission where they got some feedback to the second submission where they have tightened their skills somewhat all the way through to that third submission. The course itself can take up to 3 months for people to submit their final assessments. Sometimes, in fact, in a couple of cases, we've had up to 6 months. And that's fine, but what happens in that situation is the participant's memory of maybe what happened in the workshop has faded, and therefore the comprehension of some of the tasks may have also faded. So in that situation, to encourage the learner to complete, we may have to go over some of those tasks again and explain them using examples. So that's another way of both motivating the student, improving their comprehension skills, and also ensuring that they understand what is required of the question and their level of answer. When it comes to numeracy skills in this course, well, to be honest, the main numeracy skill is understanding the different tasks, numbers, where they are, what evidence needs to be associated with each task, and numbering those if necessary. But that's about the level of it. So we don't engage too much in numeracy skills within this program. When it comes to setting ground rules, what we do try and do with any adult learning group is let a social discussion occur around what should and shouldn't be done in a given training situation or context. That generally means things like putting your phone on silent or not using it at all, making sure you engage with everybody, allowing other people to speak, don't overtalk other people, don't interrupt, etc. We can use the chat function also if people have questions they might not want to raise their hand for but want to ask of a specific person or the facilitator. So there's a few ground rules but not too many. Again, being an adult learning environment, we tend not to be too strict up front with those and see how the group themselves socially interact before maybe introducing some further ground rules around how to use the technology or how to interact with one another. Overall, we love running any sort of team or paired activities, as I mentioned before. These are not only engaging, but we've found that they improve the learning experience and the learning outcomes for the students. Again, that ability to question maybe one-on-one with another participant helps people clarify a lot of the context or content, I should say, around what they're trying to establish and work out how to answer questions and maybe what else they need to do to ensure that the practical side of things is completed well. So that's what I think our students get out of the group sessions. What we as the organisation gets out of it is that it allows for way better learning outcomes, and we've seen that time and time again running this particular program. My overall advice for running any LLN-based program is twofold. The first is to ensure that your learners' expectations are established up front. What are their expectations upon completion of that particular course? If someone is running a simple, maybe level 1 or even pre-level 1 language course, for instance, you can't expect the learner, and they shouldn't expect it of themselves, to be a level 3 or even a level 2 at the end of it. It's about setting some sort of milestones and agreeing on those before you even start. This helps the learner not overstretch what they think they should be able to achieve, and therefore it improves their motivation long term. If they set maybe goals that are too lofty and they fail, then they'll demotivate them, as you can imagine. So that's probably the biggest thing. And the second part of that is to, again, encourage work with others. Try out your skills with others, try out your knowledge with others. That can be within the classroom setting where they get to talk to each other, or maybe back in their own workplace or at their home. So that's the advice. If you can incorporate that into what you're going to be delivering, fantastic. If you can't, think of other things that you could do to encourage that participation, and also maybe let the learners come up with their own expectations as to what they think they'll achieve at the end of a 20 or 40-minute session. Well, thanks for asking me these questions. Whilst I didn't cover them one after the other, all the content was there. So I'll leave it up to you to pull apart what I've been saying and answer all those questions out of task 4. I hope you have a great time with the remainder of the course, and I look forward to seeing a great outcome for you.